This is Headliners and Legends with Matt Lauer.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Headliners and Legends. Since 1969, when pregnant actress Sharon Tate and 6 others were brutally butchered in their homes, the name Charles Manson has been synonymous with pure evil. But did you know that Charles Manson himself never actually killed anyone? His followers did, including 3 women: Susan Atkins, Leslie Van Houten, and Patricia Krenwinkel. They all drew blood in the so-called Manson murders. Why were these women drawn to Charles Manson? How did he keep their loyalty? And what dark forces turned young women barely out of their teens into heartless killers?
Saturday, August 9th, 1969. Night falls on the Hollywood Hills. Armed with 3 buck knives and a gun, followers of Charles Manson make their way toward Benedict Canyon with murder in mind. Pregnant actress Sharon Tate, the wife of famed director Roman Polanski, and Jay Sebring, a celebrated hairstylist to the stars, are among 5 who will be sadistically slain by evening's end.
I had never seen anything like it. Anything of that magnitude. So much hate, so much blood, and such a terrible waste of life.
There was extreme paranoia about it right off the bat. The first reports were that this was a drug-related thing, about famous people who had purchased drugs and then were murdered by the people who sold it to them.
But 24 hours later, when grocer Lino LaBianca and his wife Rosemary are found slain in the same ritualistic and gruesome way, Los Angeles fears the worst.
People literally were dropped from guest lists, parties were canceled because people were wondering, are the killers among us?
The gruesome death of rising film star Sharon Tate helps fuel one of the most intensive and perplexing police investigations in U.S. history.
The police typically were going to their police books and they were looking for conventional motives. Roman Polanski immediately suspected something different because there were words printed in blood on the wall. So he suspected that it was going to be very, very bizarre.
Polanski's suspicions are confirmed when 4 months later those responsible are caught and the face of evil is redefined.
Once Charlie was arrested, you really got the impression that, okay, this guy was a hippie. This was a guy who represented the free love movement, the experimentation that we saw everywhere. But instead it was the dark side. And it really began to feel like the end of the 60s.
The media puts Charles Manson in the spotlight, but the true killers are young women. Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, Leslie Van Houten. Who are these women? How were they drawn to Manson? What dark forces led them to kill for him? The story of the Manson women begins with the story of one of their own. One of the first to join Manson, she remains loyal to him to this day. Her name is Lynette Alice Fromm, who will come to be known as Squeaky. Lynette Fromm did seem destined for fame, but it would not come in the way those who knew her as a child expected. Growing up in the thriving suburb of Westchester, California, Lynette displays real talent at an early age.
She was a great singer, a great dancer. The director of her dance troupe would feature her prominently. You can still see these big promotional posters of these costumed children from the early 50s, and she's right front and center.
One of the first to notice Lynette is the director of a well-known dance troupe called the Lariats.
From the very beginning, she was one of the easiest to teach. She was as talented with her voice as she was with her feet. Now, the recording I've got back here, I'm sure, is the very first time she ever tried this song.
In this rare tape recording, Hall captured the young Lynette Fromm.
Folks are dumb where I come from. They ain't had any learning. Still they're happy as can be, doing what comes naturally.
Over the next few years, the Lariats dance and sing their way across America. And by age 11, Lynette has crisscrossed the country.
Doing what comes naturally.
Life on the open road appeals to Lynette for a good reason. At home, her father, William Fromm, is known to be unpredictable, difficult, and controlling. Lynette spoke to MSNBC about her life.
My father and I had a difficult relationship, which I didn't understand at the time, but he withdrew. He told me that I wasn't to be around him at all. I was becoming a teenager, and he found that hard to deal with.
When Lynette is 20 years old, a final disagreement with her father leaves her heading for Venice Beach. In 1967, sitting on a bench wondering what to do with her life, she is approached by a charming older man. His name is Charles Manson.
There was this vitality about him, and I knew that there was a very peaceful life force in his eyes.
He seemed to be able to read her and to respond to her and to take her seriously in a way that not a lot of people did when they met.
Lynette almost immediately decides to give herself over to Manson, despite the fact that he has spent practically 17 of his 33 years behind bars.
Squeaky was by herself. She had nowhere to go, no vision of the future. And then Manson comes along, instinctively seems to understand her, and then transforms her from a zero and a total sense of emptiness to a one, a person with a future, with a relationship, with a destiny.
Over the next few months, Lynette is tutored by Manson in the art of sexual and spiritual freedom. Dropping acid and traveling around California, they spend their time talking about saving the environment and sing songs written by Manson.
Always is always forever, 'cause one is one is one.
For Lynette, the lifestyle is full of possibilities.
They began to ascribe a meaning to this fun that they were having beyond simply fun for its own sake, but sort of exploring a whole new spiritually influenced way of living, a whole new approach.
But it is an approach that will soon turn dark and evil. Coming up, how more women fall under Manson's spell.
Who is Charlie Manson? He's your brother, and he's your father, and he's your little boy.
Of course you're going to invest in a 529 college savings plan.
It's federal tax-free.
But you want it managed right.
Not just through up markets, but down markets.
Through potty trading?
And swim meets.
And broken curfews.
And strange piercings.
Hey, getting the money ready could be a lot less painful than getting the kids ready.
Make sure your 529 is managed by some of the best in the business. Call 1-800-FIDELITY or ask your advisor for more information.
Room service. Your grape nuts, sir.
It'd take 4 bowls of grape nuts to get the B vitamins in just 1 bowl of total.
That's a manly breakfast. Your raisin bran.
10 bowls to equal the zinc in total.
I'll keep the gym open. Your special K, Miz.
40 bowls to equal the calcium in total.
Late checkout this morning?
You need Total. It's got a 100% daily value of 12 vitamins and minerals. No other leading cereal comes close.
Pull a Total,
I'll take Total.
Kitchen's just closed.
Total Raisin Bran. 1 bowl, 100%.
There are thousands of them. Some cleverly disguised as bookstores, Wi-Fi internet access, or your laptop, or PDA. T-Mobile Hotspot. Get more.
Raise your hand, you got it. Raise your hand.
Sure Unscented. It's the #1 selling unscented antiperspirant. Get outstanding odor and wetness protection, minus the heavy scent.
Raise your hand, raise your hand, if you're sure.
I'm not sure where these seats are.
Who cares? At least they're free. No wonder they were free.
I don't believe it! It's gone! A new home run record!
You never know when an opportunity will turn out golden. Like at the Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event. You'll find incredible values on all your favorite Lexus vehicles.
Going once, going twice, sold for $2 million. Congratulations, sir.
See your Lexus dealer.
My problem with the dish. Basically, in bad weather with strong winds, I would always lose my connection. This thing's like a sail. The dish company told me to put it in a bucket of cement. I'm thinking to myself, where am I going to mix cement?
I live in an apartment!
So I built this. It seemed to work. Sorta. So I dumped the dish, and in no time I had digital cable. It works great. No assembly required.
Did the value of your stock portfolio go from thousands of dollars to pocket change? You may be able to recover some of your money. If you lost more than $100,000 in the stock market, call James Rollshouse & Associates toll-free at 1-800-203-8495 for a free consultation. That's 1-800-203-8495. James Rollshouse practices law in Minnesota and associates with lawyers throughout the U.S. to help people across the country. Call now, 1-800-203-8495.
With Lynette Fromm in tow, Charles Manson cruises San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury neighborhood, the center of hippie culture. It is 1967, the summer of love, and Manson and Fromm migrate between San Francisco and Los Angeles. At a stop in Manhattan Beach, Lynette runs into an old acquaintance, 21-year-old Patricia Krenwinkel. Patricia's life is a mess. She is living with a drug-addicted sister and working as a clerk at an insurance company. The shy plain girl feels life is passing her by. But after a few hours listening to Lynette, Krenwinkel believes that Manson offers hope. The group that will soon be called the Manson family is beginning to take shape.
The kinds of people who decided to join Manson on the road were people who were unhappy about something else that was going on in their lives. I mean, Lynette herself made that observation, is that people who had everything together didn't follow Charles Manson around California. Why would they?
Lynette and Patricia return to San Francisco with Manson, where they meet Susan Atkins, a 19-year-old ex-stripper who is living with drug dealers. Atkins is a high school dropout who has spent most of her life searching for a place to fit in. After spending the night with Manson, she too falls under his spell.
When you look at the other members of the Manson family, for the most part, they had fairly good backgrounds, average American backgrounds, totally different from what we would expect, obviously, of mass murderers. But Susan did not have that background. Her mother died when Susan was rather young. She didn't get along with her father, and she drifted to San Francisco and became a topless dancer. You couldn't categorize her background as being average American.
In the spring of 1968, after a year of living like nomads, Charles Manson, the women, and the other members of the growing family set up camp at a rundown film set on the outskirts of Los Angeles. The Spahn Movie Ranch is the perfect place to settle down. The days are spent in a fantastic haze of LSD and casual sex.
It was the best thing that I had ever known in life, and that doesn't mean I didn't know wonderful experience. That means that it topped even the wonderful experiences that I've had in my life.
Among those experiences are frequent sexual encounters with Manson, who also controls the sex lives of the other family members.
And it was pretty obvious what he was trying to do. He was trying to break down their ego and their pride.
By now, the Manson family is predominantly female. Of the 30 members, over 20 are women.
It's my personal belief that girls are not attracted to a charismatic male leader without some of what psychologists call father transference. They needed a father that was as controlling and manipulative as their own father.
And Manson is controlling. He gives all the girls new names, including Lynette, who he calls Squeaky. He uses other classic techniques of group indoctrination and eventually dominates the women completely.
You know, there were no newspapers, calendars, clocks. It was a timeless existence. And all these people were getting day in and day out was a steady bombardment of Manson's perverse philosophy on life.
And over time, the women actually come to believe Manson is God.
They called him Charlie, they called him JC for Jesus Christ, they called him Satan, because he convinced them that he was Christ and the devil all wrapped up into one person.
For Patricia Krenwinkel, a devout Christian, the transformation is a powerful one. And Squeaky encourages those family members who appear less zealous.
If you truly believe that someone is your absolute savior, I think this gives you an intensity about being able to sell something that people who are a little more skeptical never have.
Squeaky's commitment to Manson leaves no room for anyone else, not even old friends.
I saw her after that when she first got tangled up with the Manson, but I knew nothing about it. And I thought, he acted kind of strange.
Women continue to arrive at the Spahn Ranch, and the family continues to grow. One of the newest members is 20-year-old Leslie Van Houten, a beautiful ex-homecoming princess. Like Squeaky, Van Houten comes from a middle-class family, but Leslie's reason for dropping out is drugs.
I think that the LSD was a contributor to the susceptibility of my thinking. Without the use of drugs, I would not have been at the ranch.
And the drugs further warp Manson's mind. When the Beatles released the White Album in 1969, Manson believes the song Skelter, a cut on that album, is a call to arms.
So they came out with an album called the White Album. Manson got a hold of the album and he came racing back to the ranch. He was all excited. And he said, the Beatles are telling it like it is.
And telling it to him. When we come back, the Manson women turn helter-skelter into acts of blood-chilling terror.
Do you want your children to live according to the gospel of helter-skelter?
What time is it? Subaru all-wheel drive time. Time to get it all. Up to $2,000 in customer cash rebates depending on model, and financing as low as 0% APR. Time to get incredible savings on an incredible all-wheel drive 2003 Outback, Legacy, or Baja. That's up to $2,000 in customer cash rebates and 0% financing. Hurry to Subaru all-wheel drive time now, because time runs out September 2nd.
All these CDs have to go, so we're giving them away. That's right, we've got so many CDs in our warehouse, we're running out of room, so we're giving them away free. These CDs, they do it all. They're top-of-the-line editions of brand name software, Home Depot, Britannica, Rand McNally, and the American Medical Association, just to name a few. Names you know, names you trust, and you get them free. Video Professor partnered with these companies, and we have thousands of their CDs, but now we desperately need to make room, so call now, and we'll send you a pack of these new CDs free. Just pay the $6.95 shipping and we'll send you $100 in great name software. What do these CDs do? What don't they do? But try this for starters. Learn secrets of the Home Depot pros, wallpapering, plumbing, carpentry, tile, insulation, and more. Then create your own home on your PC, add walls, carpets, a new addition, and see it in a 3D walkthrough. But that's not all. Create printable maps of anywhere in North America and try restaurants, hotels, and sightseeing stops along the way. Remember, this is free. How about researching almost anything in seconds? History, maps, nature, science, geography, trivia, and more. You get an encyclopedia of knowledge free when you call. Want more? How about free medical help 24 hours a day? Health information, medical emergencies, CPR, drug facts, burns, fractures, cuts, bruises, and essential information for any family. And we're giving it away. It's not priced to sell because there is no price. We'll give you the CDs, you pay for the shipping, and they're yours. It's that easy. What are you waiting for? Pick up the phone to make sure you don't miss out. We need the space, you want the CDs, and you get them for free. Everyone's a winner. And if you call right now, we'll throw in a great $30 typing tutorial CD absolutely free. That makes almost $150 worth of software free with one free call. Don't wait. These CDs will go fast.
To take advantage of this risk-free offer and get your free software pack, you must call now. Call 1-800-910-9052.
Sunday on MSNBC. Jump thousands of feet into the ultimate hellhole with female smoke jumpers. Fearless women throwing caution to the wind to take acre-scorching wildfires head on. Plunge into the world of female smoke jumpers when Lisa Ling hosts Ultimate Explorer, Sunday at 8 on MSNBC.
While women all over America are shedding female stereotypes, the Manson women are reveling in them. In 1969, under Manson's orders, cooking, sewing, and cleaning are part of their daily chores, along with crimes like credit card fraud and sometimes prostitution.
Manson was not someone who would try to get an internship through the Chamber of Commerce and work his way up as a sales associate. The skills that he used before he went to federal prison in 1959 of stealing cars and pimping and forgery and so forth, those were still the skills that he could use in the late 1960s.
July 1969, 20-year-old Linda Kasabian arrives at the Spahn Ranch with her 2-year-old daughter in tow.
Linda had been looking for Jesus. You know, she had been to Taos, New Mexico, the Haight-Ashbury district of San Francisco, and she thought she found Jesus in Manson.
But soon, she'll see the devil. By midsummer, Manson begins evangelizing about an apocalyptic race war, which will be led by Black Americans. He supports his dark vision with an interpretation of the Beatles song called Helter Skelter.
Manson thought that the Beatles were prophets and that they were speaking to him and other tuned-in people beneath the lyrics of their songs. So he told the members of his family, the Beatles want a violent revolution.
That's what he said, that next summer there would be this big revolution and that the chosen people would live in a hole in the middle of the desert.
Manson tells the women and other family members that they are the chosen people. He says it is up to them to start a civil war by committing high-profile murders that will be blamed on Black America. By early August, Charles Manson is ready to ignite the revolution. Saturday, August 9th, 1969. Patricia Krenwinkel and Susan Atkins are summoned by Manson. He tells them Helter Skelter is at hand. 20 miles away, in a house in Benedict Canyon, actress Sharon Tate is spending the evening with friends. Roman Polanski, the father of her unborn child, is in Europe shooting a film. Back at Spahn Ranch, Manson names Linda Kasabian designated driver and tells family member Tex Watson to lead the three women to 10050 Cielo Drive.
And we drove to the house with instructions to kill everyone in the house.
It's a house where Manson and Watson once visited producer Terry Melcher and his girlfriend Candace Bergen. Melcher doesn't live there anymore, but Manson doesn't know and doesn't care. The house is chosen because Watson knows the layout. It is close to 10 p.m. on a near moonless night when the killers reach the estate in Benedict Canyon. Tex Watson climbs a telephone pole in front of the house and cuts the wires. Then Watson, Susan Atkins, and Patricia Krenwinkel scale a wall in front of the house and enter the property. At approximately 11:15, 18-year-old Stephen Parent is leaving the estate after visiting William Garrettson, a groundskeeper who lives in a guest house on the property. Garrettson will be the only one left alive by evening's end. Parent isn't as lucky. Tex Watson approaches his car and executes him with 4 shots. Moments later, Atkins, Krenwinkel, and Watson enter the house. There, they encounter coffee heiress Abigail Folger, her lover Wojtek Frykowski, hairstylist Jay Sebring, and actress Sharon Tate.
I remember when we first went in, one of the people said, "Who are you?" And Tex said, "I'm the devil, and I'm here to do the devil's business."
The first person to die inside the house is Jay Sebring. When he refuses to obey Tex Watson's orders, he is shot, beaten, and stabbed.
All I can remember seeing is people just scattering in different places and running in different places.
Patricia Krenwinkel chases Abigail Folger onto the front lawn, and she stabs her over 20 times. Folger refuses to die. Watson finishes her off, plunging a knife into her stomach. Then, Susan Atkins targets Wojtek Frykowski.
I had tied his hands with a towel and then was instructed to kill him. And he and I began to fight. And I remember I was screaming for help and he was screaming for help. And then Tex came and helped me.
Frykowski is stabbed 51 times. He is then shot twice. Finally, he is beaten to death with the gun. Now, only Sharon Tate remains alive.
I felt nothing. I felt absolutely nothing for her. As she begged for her life and for the life of her baby.
Tate's pleas go unheeded. Watson and Atkins stab her to death. Then, Atkins takes a towel, dips it in Tate's blood, and writes "pig" on the front door.
It's so alive in me, even just recalling it. I remember that I had gone so far and there was no turning back.
Their bloody mission complete, the women and Tex drive back to the ranch with Linda Kasabian. The following day, Roman Polanski learns what Los Angeles already knows, that his wife and her friends have been found viciously beaten, stabbed, and shot to death.
All of you know how beautiful she was. But only few of you know how good she was.
When word of the horrendous crimes hits the newsstands, fear spreads through the city, especially among the wealthy.
Esquire magazine said it very, very well. They said in the great homes of Bel Air, terror sends people flying to their telephones when a branch falls from a tree outside.
But this time, Los Angeles has good reason to fear. Coming up, in 24 hours, terror strikes again.
Introducing the new Nissan Murano for your adventures in on-roading.
The best solution for dry skin isn't a bar, bottle, or pump. It's this cloth. New Olay Daily Facials Hydrating. With 80% more of what dry skin needs most. It hydrates better than leading dry skin cleansers for dewy, luscious skin. Forget the bar, bottle, or pump and get yourself a box. Olay Daily Facials. Love the skin you're in. A free customized sample is at olay.com.
Folks have a really nice house here.
We could sure use the equity.
But you got one problem.
What? Termites? Dry rot?
Nope. Bankers. And they can cost you.
Oh, no.
Welcome to E-Trade Financial. We reinvented the way people invest, and now we are redefining the way you bank and borrow. Like with our home equity line of credit. Since we don't have the high overhead costs of traditional banks, we can offer you some of the lowest rates in the country, like 2.99% intro APR for a home equity line up to $500,000. And at E-Trade Financial, there are no costs or fees at application or closing. Call us at 1-800-289-7401 or visit etrade.com. E-Trade Financial. Do more with your money.
Two best friends.
See, I put my lucky jacket on the kangaroo who popped off with all my money.
We can find your money.
There he goes!
With one thing in common.
If you could give me back my money. Money? Stop that!
They don't know jack.
You're a tough little guy, aren't you?
Nice. I said the hip hop. The hippie to the hip hop. Yeah, that's...
Order Kangaroo Jack next on In-Demand Pay-Per-View. This family hit begins every half hour today on Cox Digital Cable.
Lose fat, increase energy, reshape your body in record time with Fitness Made Simple's new 45-minute fat-burning workout.
There are no tricky dance moves, no high-impact gyrations, just lightweight training done at a heart-pumping cardio pace to build lean muscle and burn pounds of fat.
Work out at home with fitness celebrity John Bastow doing exercises to sculpt your chest, back, shoulders, arms, legs, and abs. Call now or order online at fitnessmadesimple.com.
Fitness Made Simple, bringing real results to real people.
This is Headliners and Legends with Matt Lauer.
The hours following the discovery of Sharon Tate's murder are terrifying for the citizens of Los Angeles. The killings are attributed to everything from a satanic cult to a celebrity drug buy gone bad. But Charles Manson's dark vision is not yet complete. The Manson women will strike again, and the words helter-skelter will become synonymous with mass murder.
Night in Los Angeles, a movie actress and 4 of her friends were murdered. The circumstances were lurid. The movie actress is Sharon Tate, 26.
August 10th, 1969. Less than 24 hours after the brutal murders of Sharon Tate and 4 others, Charles Manson orders another killing. This time, Leslie Van Houten is selected to accompany Patricia Krenwinkel, Tex Watson, and Manson himself.
We drove all over LA, and Manson was very agitated, and Kasabian was very nervous and upset, and he was yelling at her a lot.
The group drives to the Los Feliz neighborhood of Los Angeles and picks out a house on Waverly Drive. The owners are Lino LaBianca and his wife Rosemary. Charles Manson leaves the car and enters the house.
So Manson came back, he looked in the car, and he pointed at Pat and I and told us to get out and go do what Tex said.
Manson then leaves the scene with Linda Kasabian. Patricia Krenwinkel, Leslie Van Houten, and Tex Watson enter the house and discover the LaBiancas tied up.
They were very frightened, and Pat and I went in the kitchen. I think Tex said to get knives, or anyway, we ended up in the kitchen getting knives. And Pat and I took Mrs. LaBianca into the bedroom. Pat went to stab her and the knife bent, and she was yelling out for her husband.
The women and Watson stabbed the LaBiancas a total of 53 times. Patricia Krenwinkel then adds a famously macabre touch to the crime scene.
She carved the word war on Lino LaBianca's stomach and plunged a fork in his stomach also. She wrote the word helter-skelter in blood on the refrigerator door at the LaBianca residence.
The crime scene is among the bloodiest the LAPD has ever seen, and they begin a massive manhunt to track down the killers. 3 months later, all of the members of the Manson family are arrested, but not for the murders. Police want them for auto theft. But when family member Susan Atkins lands in jail, she begins to tell her cellmates about Manson. It's the lucky break the LAPD needs.
She told 2 co-inmates of hers that she was a member of a family, and the family was responsible for all these murders, the Tate LaBianca murders that the police were still trying to solve.
Susan Atkins' unwitting jailhouse confession leads to the arrests of Patricia Krenwinkel, Leslie Van Houten, Linda Kasabian, Tex Watson, and Charles Manson. On December 1st, 1969, they are all charged with murder. Los Angeles District Attorney Vincent Bugliosi is assigned to prosecute the case.
Well, you have to realize that if you're going to have a bizarre motive like this, it doesn't really make any difference who the victims are.
And throws himself into the task.
He slept an average of about 4 hours a night. His whole life was consumed totally by this case. It drove everything about him.
July 24th, 1970. Charles Manson, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten are tried for murder. Tex Watson will be tried at a later date. The trial immediately becomes a media circus. Spectators wait 3 hours each day for a chance at a seat in the courtroom and a close look at the accused.
Are you all happy with your court? And when you first saw them, you couldn't imagine that these young women had done what they had done.
The press reports that the women have been brainwashed by Manson. To this day, Squeaky disagrees.
To blame it on Manson is just silly. He may have been a large part, but these women could come and go as they wished. This was a voluntary unity.
Squeaky begins to hold a vigil outside the courthouse with other Manson women. Among them is Sandra Good, the daughter of a prominent San Diego stockbroker.
Sandy and Squeaky were truly Charlie's most fervent disciples. They communicated all of the things that the Manson girls and young men felt about Charlie, this tremendous admiration they had for him, this adoration.
I'm awakened hours before I may use the law library.
From the start of the trial, Squeaky's adoration for Manson never wavers. Squeaky's connection to Manson brings her a higher profile in the press, and she tries to use it to draw support for the defendants. But the family's bizarre actions in the courtroom are not helping their case.
One day Manson came into court and he had carved an X on his forehead. He said he was Xing himself out from the world. But the very next day, all the girls in the corner had this X on their forehead. It's become kind of a symbol of the Manson family.
And when Manson shaves his head to protest the trial, all the women immediately follow suit.
We were showing our unity and love for our brothers and sisters. We hoped that people could see something beyond an actress, a group of people, a small amount of deaths.
While trial spectators are treated to the antics of the Manson family, the women's biological families are interviewed on TV.
Well, having known her for a period of 19 years, I think it's a different personality today.
She was like a stranger to me, in other words. She was a guest in my house instead of it being her house, and there was always someone with her as if it were planned that way.
What do you plan to do with your life now? Or have you made any plans?
I plan to get closer to God.
The family members remain in jail for months. Then finally, there is a break in the case. July 27th, almost 1 year after Linda Kasabian drove death to Sharon Tate's door, she agrees to turn state's evidence in exchange for immunity from prosecution.
Linda Kasabian surely is the proverbial star witness for the prosecution.
I'd like to see them just to fall down on their knees and beg forgiveness.
Kasabian's testimony is a devastating blow for the defense.
As the evidence came out at the trial and it became clearer and clearer that they actually were guilty, Lynette's audience lost interest in her, and she and other members of the family became correspondingly more outrageous.
In a desperate bid to swing public opinion in the Manson family's direction, Squeaky and several other women stage a crawl for freedom. But the stunt backfires. The women are spat on and jeered as they crawl nearly 15 miles through Los Angeles. Over the next 5 months, the jury hears from many witnesses, including Linda Kasabian and her first-hand account of the events leading up to the brutal murders. On January 25th, 1971, the jury delivers its verdict. Patricia Krenwinkel, Susan Atkins, Leslie Van Houten, and Charles Manson are found guilty of murder. Separately, Tex Watson is tried and convicted of murder.
The defendant should receive the death penalty. That ultimate
Prosecutor Vincent Bugliosi immediately decides to seek the death penalty for all.
We're talking about 169 stab wounds. Now, what does that show? Well, I think the multiplicity of the stab wounds and the post-mortem nature of some of these wounds show that these people were willing participants in these murders.
Attorney Paul Fitzgerald appeals to the jury to spare the women from the gas chamber.
The death penalty is a relic of savagery. It provides no socially useful function. We don't profit anything by sending.
But Fitzgerald cannot convince the women to do anything to save themselves.
One of them said, yeah, we killed these 7 pigs. All we were trying to do is clear up the air over Los Angeles.
March 18th, 1971. Charles Manson, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten are condemned to death.
I cried because it was in my hands a decision to have these people put to death.
Charles Manson is sent to San Quentin, 400 miles away. Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten are sent to the California Institute for Women in Frontera, where a new death row is being built just for them. Coming up, the Manson women face life on death row, and Squeaky Frum describes her attempted assault on President Gerald Ford.
Move up! Get out of the way! Get out of the way! Get out of
the way! We see an old family recipe for success. An empire built from a storefront. We see the soda king of the Midwest. At Microsoft, we see the potential in small business. It's what inspires us to create software that helps them reach it.
I'm not sure where these seats are.
Who cares? At least they're free. No wonder they were free.
You never know when an opportunity will turn out golden, like at the Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event. You'll find incredible values on all your favorite Lexus vehicles.
Going once, going twice, sold for $2 million. Congratulations, sir.
See your Lexus dealer.
In the future, everyone's glasses will automatically adjust to changing light and block out harmful UV rays that can damage the eyes. But for those with transitions lenses, the future is already here. Ask your eye care professional, because the danger is real now, and so is the protection. Transitions, right in any light.
I was on a 300-minute wireless plan. Some months I'd be under by 100. Did I get to pay less? No. Did I get to keep those minutes? No. But if I went over, slammed with a bill almost twice as high. Frustrating? Yeah.
Only Singular lets you roll over unused anytime minutes so you avoid paying overages months you talk more. They're your minutes. Keep them. Singular has rollover on national plans and your choice of cool phones.
I call it they're my minutes, I'm keeping them plan.
Come in to find out how Singular fits you best.
Ever wonder what goes into Red Lobster's endless crab? Maybe a whole lot more than you thought. Red Lobster's Endless Crab. A celebration of all the hot, steaming snow crab legs you can eat. Endless Crab. Now at Red Lobster.
Monday at 10, Fred Thompson tells Joe why the Terminator may just have what it takes to save a state in crisis. Scarborough Country, Monday at 10 on MSNBC.
1 year after the savage killings of Sharon Tate and 6 others, Charles Manson and his followers are saved from execution when the U.S. Supreme Court repeals the death penalty.
A sharply divided court today ruled 5-4 that the death penalty is illegal in the form.
Their sentences are commuted to life in prison.
While the court did not rule
but it
out
takes more than 4 years for the women to renounce their leader. With the help of therapy and family support, they slowly begin to see the light.
I had good psychiatrists, and my family and my friends were really good about helping me to reorganize myself.
The women are also permitted to take classes, which help them to move forward.
I remember my first class was a women's lib class, and that helped me to start thinking, because prior to that it had always been this male, king kind of thing.
But perhaps the most dramatic change is Susan Atkins. In 1975, she turns from the devil to God.
I'm a new creature in Christ. I've been completely, spiritually, mentally, and almost physically born again.
It's a one, it's a one, it's a one, it's a one, it's a one.
But not everyone has turned away from Manson. In 1975, Lynette Squeaky Frum and Sandra Good are living in Sacramento and actively trying to visit Charles Manson, who has been moved from San Quentin to Folsom Prison, less than 20 miles away. Their efforts to see him are fruitless.
We were trying to get in to see Manson. We were going to the California Department of Corrections and appealing to everybody that we could get an appointment with. And they all would send us in circles, so that was frustrating. That was really very frustrating.
Squeaky and Sandra start a religion dedicated to their leader. They dress in hooded red robes and say they are spokespeople for a new radical group known as the International People's Court of Retribution. The court targets corporate executives and their families who may be responsible for polluting the environment.
All executives, put all your money and technological know-how into cleaning up what you have destroyed. Stop killing the earth. Stop polluting the air.
Stop killing the wildlife. Stop poisoning the waters, or you will be violently and viciously murdered.
The two women also hand out press releases to local news organizations, combining environmental issues with demands that Manson receive a new trial.
Their press releases were long, involved, not terribly clear. I couldn't figure out what they wanted.
But despite their threats, no one is really paying attention.
People did not take them very seriously, did not view them as a legitimate threat, and that led to a lot of frustration on Lynette's part, that, you know, being ignored, being treated as a fossil was really not the future that she had envisioned for herself.
Little by little, Squeaky finds herself once again without hope. And it's about to turn to anger, perhaps bloodshed.
And the president went traveling today. He's on a 2-day swing along the West Coast.
On September 4th, while watching the evening news, Squeaky learns that President Gerald Ford is coming to Sacramento. She becomes enraged.
And it was very clear that he was beginning his campaign. He was not the president by election. He had been given the job when Nixon had to resign. And then, of course, he pardoned Nixon. It didn't make him look good at all.
September 5th, 1975. It's a big day for the citizens of Sacramento. It's a bigger day for Squeaky. Strapping a gun to her leg and donning her red robe, the ardent Manson disciple goes to see the president.
My first consideration was to go and talk to him. And then I realized that he would not pause. And so then I thought of the gun. And I asked myself, would I kill? And I thought I would prepare to do that if it were necessary.
For Secret Service agents and reporters on the scene, it's pandemonium.
President Ford came from L Street through the sidewalk here in Capitol Park. The people were probably 3 or 4 feet deep, lining the edge, very happy to see him. When reached about this point right here, fairly close to the Capitol, and there's a commotion of some type, and then wham, the Ford goes down because the Secret Service people are jumping on him. Other people seem to be wrestling with something in the background, which later turned out to be Squeaky foaming her gun.
And I saw this woman start to go down and her arm go back, and I saw the gun. And I didn't watch what Ford was doing, and they wrestled her to the ground and were slapping cuffs on her. And big black gun, they got it out of her hand, and she kept saying, "Easy, fellas, easy, fellas." It didn't go off. It didn't go off.
I made a decision not to load the gun. I had a magazine with 4 bullets in it. I had to push back the slide in order to get the bullet in the chamber. It was a last-minute decision. I didn't do it, but I went ahead with the motion.
But no one believes her.
And so here's where we stand. The president is unhurt and apparently in good shape. The woman who pointed a .45 caliber automatic at him this morning is in Sacramento, charged with attempted murder.
By 6 p.m. that evening, Manson's favorite daughter is back in the public eye. Like the Tate LaBianca trial 5 years before, her trial causes a sensation in the press.
There was an intense interest in her trial and some of the theatrics that she pulled off during the trial, including throwing fruit at the judge at the conclusion of the trial.
On November 26, 1975, Squeaky Fromm is found guilty of trying to assassinate the President of the United States.
In Sacramento today, Lynette Fromm was sentenced to life imprisonment for an...
On December 19th, 6 years after the Tate LaBianca murders, Squeaky is sentenced to life in prison.
Don Harris has...
As she heads off to prison, the era of crimes committed by the Manson women is finally over. So what has become of them? Coming up, the Manson women today.
No matter what I do, I cannot change 1 minute of my life.
Every day for thousands of years, Old Faithful has been, well, faithful. You can almost set your watch by it.
What causes it to stay so regular?
Stay regular with Metamucil Daily Fiber Therapy. It works with you, naturally.
We just can't say.
Get regular, stay regular. The natural way. Now available in powder, wafers, and capsules.
My client's dream was to have the financial freedom to give up his big city medical practice for a small group of patients who needed him more in a place where doctors are all too scarce. So I embraced that dream with unwavering attention and made it my own. Because helping people realize dreams is what I do at Morgan Stanley. One client at a time.
Attention homeowners. Need cash to consolidate bills, pay off credit cards, home improvements? Don't wait for interest rates to go up. Apply now for a second mortgage with a no closing cost option from Ditech.com. Ditech.com is a direct lender, so there's no middleman or broker fee to pay. Don't wait. Get the cash you need now with a second mortgage from Ditech.com. Call 1-800-71-FIXED or log on to Ditech.com now. Ditech.com, your mortgage solution delivered.
Now Teflon does something amazing for fabrics. It's pretty remarkable. Clothes and home furnishings with Teflon fabric protector stay soft and comfortable, yet they resist stains and wrinkles. Who knew life could be so easy?
Now you can get real results in half the time it takes on a bike, treadmill, or stair stepper.
Introducing the Tread Climber by Nautilus, a machine so effective we guarantee results in just 30 days.
In one short workout, the Tread Climber burns twice as many calories as high-tech treadmills.
The secret is the unique dual treadles that lets you step up as you move forward, so you do twice the work in one effortless motion. Exercise just 3 times a week for awesome results.
Get the body you want in half the time.
Now you can own a Tread Climber with no money down and affordable monthly payments. It's made in the USA by Nautilus and is backed by a 5-year warranty.
Just 3 short workouts a week on the Tread Climber will get you into the best shape of your life.
Check out the next evolution in home fitness. Call now for a free video or DVD, or visit us at nautilusdirect.com today.
This is Headliners and Legends with Matt Lauer.
Lynette Squeaky Fromm's failed assassination attempt on Gerald Ford is seen by many as the last gasp of the Manson family. But decades after Charles Manson and his women were tried and convicted of mass murder, the chilling case continues to fascinate.
My belief is that the Manson case is the most far-out, bizarre mass murder case in the recorded annals of American crime.
I think that it did write an important footnote in the history of California for violence and murder and drugs and crime.
The women spend the years in prison out of the public eye until Leslie Van Houten gets a lucky break. On March 28, 1977, due to a technical error in her original trial, she is granted a second one, which ends in a hung jury. Awaiting a third trial, Van Houten is released on bail. But freedom is short-lived. On July 5th, she is convicted of first-degree murder for a second time and returned to life in prison.
I don't think she should ever have been convicted of first-degree murder. She was on the fringe. She didn't plan it.
Nevertheless, the prisoner should be commended for her extremely positive program.
And despite a prison record that includes an active role in Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous, relatives of the LaBiancas believe she will never pay enough for her part in the murders of Lino and Rosemary LaBianca.
I pray that you understand the terrible and unrectified damage done to our family by Leslie Van Houten. She committed murder and still lives. Our society is truly merciful. Lino and Rosemary cry out through our voices for justice. Thank you for your consideration of our plea for no parole, ever.
Patricia Krenwinkel, who renounced Manson over 25 years ago, has received a degree in chemistry and has never once committed a violation. But because of her involvement in both the Tate and LaBianca slayings, it is likely she will never be paroled.
No matter what I do, I cannot change 1 minute of my life. And as I've said before, I don't expect the board to say that I can go home. I am paying for this as best as I can.
Susan Atkins remains devout in her Christian belief and runs a ministry from Frontera Prison. Surprisingly, she has recanted her story concerning the events that took place on the night of the murders.
I did not by my own hand kill any human being. I was there. I participated. I did nothing to stop what was going on. That is inexcusable behavior. That is something that I live with every day.
I believe the inmate continues to be adept at sidestepping issues and creating...
Despite her pleas for leniency, it is unlikely that Susan Atkins will ever see freedom. Lynette Squeaky Fromm remains loyal to her old friend Charles Manson, and in 1987, she manages to raise his specter once again. While Squeaky is incarcerated at a prison in Virginia, she hears a rumor that Manson is dying of cancer. On December 23, 1987, Squeaky manages to escape in a desperate attempt to see him one last time. But she doesn't even get close. On Christmas Day, she is captured while wandering down a country road and is returned to prison. In 1995, Squeaky is transferred to a facility in Fort Worth, Texas, where she remains today. The name Charles Manson will always be associated with mass murder, but the names of Patricia Krenwinkel, Leslie Van Houten, Susan Atkins, and Squeaky Fromm will also be remembered. They were teenage girls looking for the same thing when they met Charles Manson: love, comfort, attention. Instead, they found themselves with blood on their hands, which can never be washed away.
Whether they're behind bars or outside of bars, they're going to be irrevocably connected with Charles Manson for the rest of their lives.
Leslie Van Houten, Susan Atkins, and Patricia Krenwinkel have been imprisoned since 1970. And while their supporters say they're rehabilitated, many argue that the women's horrific crime should keep them behind bars forever. As for Lynette Fromm, who has not renounced her friendship with Charles Manson, she says she holds no hope of ever getting out on parole. I'm Matt Lauer. Thanks for watching.
For information on upcoming programs, go to prime.msnbc.com.